Hey guys, what is up and welcome back to another episode of Miles Edgeworth Ace Attorney Investigations. In the last episode, we continued on with the investigation outside and we found out a few things. Things have been moved. The basketball hoop outside of Portsman's door has been moved. Also, his door was never locked properly, according to Maggie, but now it's locked perfectly. Now it's locked perfectly tight. And also the file was found outside under the seat, and so now I think everything kind of just points to Mr. Portsman here, and so we're going to try and get the truth out of him. Let's get going. I don't think I explained that very well, but yeah, let's get going. I have no idea what sort of harebrained idea you have in mind, but there's a mountain of evidence that points away from me being the culprit. Besides, how may I ask, do you propose I unlocked your door and got in here? Look, I feel bad doing this to you, but I've got work to do, so we're done here. Sorry, but we are not finished yet. Boy, you're stubborn. I suppose you're basing your accusations on something? I'll show you what I'm basing my accusation on, with evidence. I believe you were able to open my office door with the master key, no less. Wait, hold on for a sec. I never laid a finger on that key, as you already know. Precisely, you were able to open my door without lifting a single finger. Well, maybe you did, but only to direct. That's right, you used your finger to direct this person to open my door with the key. You had asked Miss Bird to open your own office door for you, yes? Yeah, I kind of forgot my key at home. Happens a bit too often for my taste, you know? But the room you had Miss Bird open at that time was not your own, was it? What? You have quite the imagination. Why don't we ask the girl herself whose door she opened, or shall we? I'm certain that it was Mr. Portsman's door, sir. I checked the number plate to make sure I was opening the right door, sir. See, Miss Bird backs up my story. Yet what if you had misled her, to fool her into thinking what you wanted? Ha! And how do you suppose I did that? By switching the number plates on our doors, for example. That's right! They do slide out pretty easily. Furthermore, you then used one other thing to give a very strong impression. That the door she was opening was yours and not, in fact, mine. What was it that Mr. Portsman used to make Miss Bird think it was his room? What? The basketball hoop, sir? It's quite the peculiar fixture in any hallway, let alone a hallway in this building, which is why it left an unusually strong impression on you. It's an object perfectly suited to sit just outside the office of a peculiar prosecutor. Ugh! That's very true, sir, because there was a basketball hoop sitting there. I thought the door I was opening had to be Mr. Portsman's. There are signs that the hoop has been moved. To sit in front of my office, to be sure. I see. So that's how you throw suspicion on people. Thanks for the tip. But I think your conjecture is a little off the racetrack. Now you're just spouting nonsense. I had the girl open my office door. After that, I was in my room the entire time. You don't have a single reason to suspect me. So he intends to claim his innocence to the end, does he? I'm as pure and innocent as my jacket, and Miss Bird is as dirty and guilty as the jacket she wears. My jacket's not dirty, I'll have you know. I just washed it yesterday. Please calm down, for I intend to show who is the one who truly is covered in slime here. Okay, I think I know this one too. Now you're just spouting out nonsense. I had the girl open my office door. After that, I was in my room the entire time. Wrong. Liar. That was a lie. What are you talking about? How was that a lie? This is a note that the victim left for you, Mr. Portsman. A note? It was left under your door. Why did you not notice? And right here it says, but you're out. You were not in your room and the victim came to call on you. So then where were you and what were you doing? Ah! Shall I explain it in full detail for you? You were busy snooping around in my room, the very room you had Miss Bird open for you. That's just nonsense. You have no evidence that I made the girl open your door for me. Oh, but I do. I have very decisive evidence. No way! This is proof positive that you had Miss Bird open the door for you. I had your door dusted for prints. My door? What for? Come on, I bet you didn't find anything. You sure are good at wasting time. You're right, I didn't find anything. And definitely not Miss Bird's fingerprints. Her prints? What do they have to do with anything? Let's put it this way. If she really was the one who opened your door, then her print should naturally be on the doorknob she touched. Ugh! Further, all of the prints on my office's door have been wiped off. I can only assume it's because Miss Bird's fingerprints were on it. Don't you think it's time you gave up your charade? We know you stole into my office with the intent of stealing something from me. And Detective Faith found you out. Possibly because he heard sounds coming from a room whose occupant was on leave. Mr. Portsman, you killed Mr. Faith to silence him. And I had the misfortune to return when I did, and you had to threaten me as you escaped. As I said when you had the gun to my back, no one gets away with committing murder in my office. It just went so funny, pal. Well, that look of stiff seriousness on the face of this office's finest prosecutor, as he makes a huge mistake in accusing me, is simply too much to bear. There's just nothing else like it in the world. What?
Mr. Redford just explained it all and he even backed it up. You're the murderer. Stop trying to be slippery and just admit the crime already.
And as I said earlier, it's all so circumstantial, so full of conjecture. You say you checked my doorknob for prints? Well, I can readily confess that I had wiped that knob down well. Huh? I'm a little obsessive-compulsive, you see. I didn't want to touch a doorknob that you had touched. Which is why I wiped the knob down as soon as I could after you opened the door. After that, it makes perfect sense so that only Jim's and my own fingerprints would be on there.
You made that up just now, didn't you?
Furthermore, as for the note Jim left for me, do you know when exactly that was? For all we know, he could have left it there before I arrived at the office. Like, early evening, for example. Are you saying you failed to notice a note in your doorway? Hey, even geniuses fail at times. I was probably too preoccupied by work-related matters, although that's no excuse.
Now that's just a flat-out lie! There's no way you didn't notice a note that size!
But you can't prove that, can you?
Say something, Mr. Edgeworth! Back me up here, sir!
Portsman makes a good point. I can't prove that he didn't simply overlook it. Besides, I have an airtight alibi. Airtight, you say? I only realized that I had one just now as we were talking. I guess it would have been better for all of us if I had just told you sooner. If memory serves, you came back to this office at around 2 a.m., correct? And it was then that you had that unfortunate confrontation at gunpoint with the culprit. But at exactly that time, I was down in criminal affairs. Ask around. I'm sure the other detectives will corroborate my story. It's the perfect alibi. What? Do you really think it's that perfect? Like I said, I don't care. Ask all around you like. You'll see for yourself. Detective Gumshoe.
Yes, sir. Sir, yes, sir. I'll go check out his alibi, sir. Be right back. Mr. Edgeworth, sir, I think we're in trouble. It's just like Mr. Portsman said. The guys down in criminal affairs say they saw him around 2 a.m.
You see? All of the evidence points to him being the culprit, so there must be a contradictory point in his alibi somewhere. The heck? So you paid the Criminal Affairs Department a visit? Yep. Right after I left the prosecutor's building, I headed straight for the precinct. Well, we did go and ask around to confirm your testimony. And it was just as I said, right?
Yes, sir. A number of detectives said that they saw you right around that time.
See? I had the perfect alibi. That's the ace I had on my sleeve. Ugh! Portsman's alibi may seem perfect at first glance, but I know there's a hole in it somewhere. All I need to do is press him a little and see what comes of it. Thanks for telling me what to do. You are correct, it was around 2 a.m. You sure? It's really important to me that you're spot on with the time. I remember checking my watch then, and make no mistake, it was 2. Oh, giving testimony like a pro. Okay, so you came back to your office at 2. It is as you say, however. Yes, however, you are the only one who claims to have bumped into the culprit. So tell me, did you see the person's face? Was it me who you saw? It was pitch black, so I couldn't actually see. Oh, come now. I'm sure you saw something. Try a little harder, why don't you? I'm beginning to feel like I'm the one being interrogated here. Oh well, it doesn't matter if you remember or not. It only matters that you ran into the culprit. Impossible! He actually does have the perfect alibi. What's wrong? Why the sudden sullen look on your face?
Can't you say anything back, Mr. Edgeworth?
I think we've reached the end of the line. It's time to get off this crazy train. You there. Sir. Please escort the young lady out. But remember, be gentle.
Maggie! Detective Gumshoe!
Is there nothing I can do? There must be a way to turn the situation around. If I only had a clue. Did I miss something that can help me cast doubt on his alibi? I need to calmly think this through one more time and with logic. Logic! Okay. The intruder I met could not have been Portsman, then who could it have been? I got it. Evidence points to the shells being disturbed once before and once after the murder. But who is to say that the person who did it the second time is the same as the first? Which could mean that there was another person who paid a visit to my office tonight. Another handgun, another visitor. And we're good. If indeed there were 2 culprits, then that resolves the contradiction behind our murder weapon. Despite the fact that there are 2 bullets here in this room, the murder weapon only shows signs of being fired once, leaving the possibility that the other bullet was fired from the other visitor's gun. Furthermore, if we suppose that the second culprit's gun was the one that was pointed at my back, Mr. Portsman, it seems that I need to amend my assumptions regarding this case. Great, so you finally come to your senses.
Mr. Edgeworth! Sir, what are you saying?
This has been a big misunderstanding on my part from the start. I had assumed that the person I ran into was the killer, but that may not be the case. What do you mean? The person I ran into was just your average thief.
A thief? But, sir, doesn't that cause some sort of contradiction in the facts?
Not at all. It simply means that the killer was someone else. And it means that in actuality 2 culprits stole into my office tonight.
What do you mean 2?
It explains both why my shells were disturbed twice and how there were 2 guns. Mr. Portsman tricked Miss Bird and gained entry into my office. And now you're just leading the argument. You still don't have any actual proof, you know. If you could please go along with my hypothetical scenario for now, Mr. Portsman. In the end, if you really are innocent, you should have nothing to worry about. Now then, returning to my scenario, Mr. Portsman was out to steal something from me, which is why he checked my secret safe and ransacked my shelves. This is the first time.
So then, this would be when the files were put back into the wrong order, right?
Correct. And then, just when he was about to look somewhere else, who should walk in but his own partner, Mr. Faith?
Why did Mr. Faith come into your room, sir?
He probably had business with Mr. Portsman, which is why he was in the area. But that's when he noticed sounds coming from my office, would be my guess.
Oh, because you were supposed to be away, right? And he must have thought it was odd, so he came into the office to check it out.
Correct. And as a detective, that was the right thing to do.
But when he came in, he found his own partner standing there.
Because it was Mr. Portsman, Mr. Faith probably let his guard down. But Mr. Portsman was not so merciful as to let him leave alive. He waited for a chance and stole Mr. Faith's gun from him, and then he killed him. He silenced Mr. Faith for catching him in the act of stealing. This was the moment in which the first shot was fired, the one that landed in my files. Following that, Mr. Portsman wiped the gun down and left it behind as he made the exit. He could afford to do that because he also had left the fake dying message behind.
You're such a complicated troublemaker, you know that?
Well, if things were as simple as that, then all would be solved. However, there was yet another visitor to my room, and this is where it gets complicated. There was another
visitor, sir?
Yes, and this other person's objective was also to steal something from me. Now then, even after Mr. Portsman left, the door to my office remained unlocked. However, this new visitor had no way of knowing that, and so they stole the master key from the security guard's room, and then entered my room and searched through my shelves. This was the second time they were disturbed, and it seems the thief found their prize.
The stolen zero file, right, sir?
Correct. Only just as the thief was about to leave with the file, I appeared. The thief then threatened me with their own gun and made their escape. The second bullet was fired during that brief encounter.
So the shell's getting messed up twice, and the two bullets, it was all because two different people were doing those things at two different times.
Precisely. So now do you see, Mr. Portsman? The person I met was just a thief, and was not in fact Mr. Faith's killer. Your alibi for the time frame in which I ran into the other person now is irrelevant. Because we now know that the murder took place during the first culprit's visit.
What's so funny, pal?
Absolutely splendid. Your scenario explains everything.
Of course it does. It's Miss Edgeworth after all.
But you know, it still doesn't change the fact that it's all circumstantial. Supposing if, and that's big if your theory is right, it would indeed render my alibi, which has withstood scrutiny, mind you, irrelevant. But there is still one defining point of your argument for which you have no evidence. Your supposition that I was the first visitor.
Miss Edgeworth, you can't let him get away with that, sir.
But he has a point. I have absolutely no proof at this point.
Don't say that, sir. I don't believe this. Don't worry, Maggie. I'll do something if I must.
You know something? I find your attitude to be somewhat peculiar, Mr. Edgeworth. If the person you met really was just a plain old thief, then why is that person not your main suspect? That is, if your theory is correct. That thief you ran into should be your real suspect, wouldn't you say? We should be out there looking for that thief right now. They might still be nearby. I hate to repeat myself, but as I've already said, I was training in my room. And when Jim came to deliver some evidence to me, I was down in criminal affairs, so I can't be expected to know what happened around here after I left. So you think we should be out there looking for the thief? Of course! Now isn't the time to be wasting time on dead-end discussions. I don't think it's at all dead-ended. I find your alibi to be fascinating. Let's continue where we left off, shall we? I know he's lying. I know he was here at the scene of the crime. I just have to find a way to prove it. A thief you ran into should be your real suspect, wouldn't you say? Hold it! Actually, no, I wouldn't. Why not? That's elementary. The dying message, of course. Mr. Fate's killer very clearly left those letters on the spines of those files, and it was after they were on there that the thief stole one of them.
You mean the zero files, right?
And that's how we also know the letters themselves were a setup and not from Mr. Faith. If the thief was the killer, do you think they would try to undermine themselves?
Ah!
Maybe the killer just didn't think of that either.
Yes, that must be it.
Maybe, just maybe. But according to Mr. Fate's note... Hold on, I thought we already cleared that up. Didn't we say that Jim left that note for me in the early evening? If you have proof that he left it at a different time, say just before he was murdered... I don't have any, no.
You see? So I insist again that I was in my office the entire time.
Let me actually go check the evidence real quick. I brought the 3 pieces of evidence by just like we talked about on the phone, but it looks like you're out. I guess I'll catch up to you later. Why didn't you go there with Mr. Faith? That's because he said he was tired and was going to take a quick nap. You know those sofas in the hallway? He likes to sleep on those. It's one of his habits. And what of the evidence he brought? They were things related to yesterday's case. Just 2 items, a gun and a pendant. What? Interesting. This piece of testimony seems too crucial to let slip through the cracks.
Nuh-uh, nope.
Wrong, sir. Only 2 pieces? I believe the proper phrase is here, No, I failed it! I messed it up. Only 2 pieces? I believe the proper phrase here is, you fail. This is a good line and I messed it up the first time. You fail as a prosecutor, Mr. Portsman, as you intend to keep evidence hidden from me. What are you talking about? I haven't hidden anything from you. Well, here's a piece I think you should read, carefully.
It says that Mr. Faith was bringing 3 pieces.
Yes, and this is the victim's real dying message to you, Mr. Portsman.
I can't believe to get tripped up by simple arithmetic.
Where is the missing piece of evidence? You have it, don't you? Only the guilty would make such a face. Detective Gumshoe.
You don't have to say it, sir. I'll pat the guy down from head to toe. Well, don't come any closer. I'm warning you. This is all part of the investigation. Pals. So don't even try to think about stopping me.
No!
Hey, what's this? He had this on him, sir.
Despite what you said, it would appear that you do have something to hide.
Why would he hide something like that?
There's only one reason why anyone would hide evidence of this caliber. Because it would unequivocally point to that person himself as the real killer. Let's examine this videotape in a little more detail, for the section of the tape that will drive this last nail into his coffin. Oh my god. Wait, The KG-8 incident?
That's a police case number, sir. And does that mean this video is evidence from that case?
Interesting. However, what's recorded on this isn't what's important right now. Let's give the casing a thorough once-over. Oh, shoot.
That's blood, isn't it?
Yes, and I believe this is what the good prosecutor was trying to hide from us. This blood is still fresh.
You mean this might be Detective Fate's blood?
No! You've got it all wrong! No amount of denial can save you. We have but to run a blood test to find the truth. You told us that you had received evidence from the victim earlier. Now you will tell us when and how did the victim's blood find its way onto this video.
Yeah, it's totally suspicious!
Was it at that moment of his death? Did Detective Faith have this videotape on his personage when you killed him? You know very well there's no way to prove that. Not even if we were to examine this tape for fingerprints?
Yeah.
If I had to take a guess, I'd say that the only ones on here would belong to the murderous you and Mr. Faith. No! Impossible! Oh my god! March 14th, 5:47 a.m. High Prosecutor's Office's room 1202. Edgeworth murdered someone.
Mr. Portsman has been placed under arrest for the murder of Detective Buddy Fate, sir.
Very good.
And the results we got back from the lab techs on the tape turned out to be real solid, sir. The blood one came back, and it was definitely Mr. Fate's blood on there. And as a bonus, they were also able to let the view of Mr. Fate's fingerprints as well.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Edgeworth. I still can't believe I got to see your cool deduction skills outside the courtroom. I'm impressed beyond words, sir. It was nothing. I'm just sorry you got caught up in another murder in my office. Please accept my apologies.
Aw, it was nothing, really, compared to what I've been through, I mean. I consider myself lucky that it was only a burglary and a murder this time, sir. If it had been a hold-up or a hostage situation, I'd have thrown my hands up in the air. I think I'm finally rising up from a goddess of misfortune to just an unlucky person.
Something tells me we should have hired a different person for security detail.
You know something, sir? That Mr. Portsman really was one corrupt prosecutor.
And why would you say he was corrupt?
Well, I heard that there were a number of suspicious things related to his court cases. There's even rumors about how some of the evidence he uses is forged, sir.
Forged evidence, huh?
And they say he even decided not to prosecute a few cases for some really vague reasons.
Oh, that guy was a complete disgrace to the entire profession! We never did get around to asking what his reason was for breaking into my office.
Yeah, whenever we got near that topic, he just clammed up.
Although we can be pretty certain that it was to steal something.
This is just between you and me, sir, but there's a rumor that some sort of huge organization is involved behind the scenes.
Oh, well, well. With Mr. Portsman not willing to divulge anything, it certainly lends credence to that rumor. It would seem that we haven't heard the last of this.
Huh? That Mr. Portsman isn't the bad guy?
I didn't say that, but rather that there are still many more mysteries for us to solve. For example, we still haven't figured out the significance to this piece of evidence. To what piece of evidence? The person who stole this file, the other villain of the night.
Yeah, I wonder who it was.
And what happened to the stolen pages? I wonder, who in the world was it that held me up at gunpoint? Mr. Edgeworth, sir. Yes? I came across this while I was processing your office earlier, sir. This card.
What is it, sir? Is that a bird or something on here?
It's not just any bird. It is the mark of the raven, a three-legged raven. Even you should know what this is, detective.
Oh, it's about that thing, isn't it? The great thief everyone's talking about.
Yes, it is the mark of the great thief Yatagarasu. Under the mark of a legendary bird, the Yatagarasu is noble to the end, a modern Robin Hood. Labeled mysterious and phantom-like, the Yatagarasu appears and vanishes at will. Though we don't know much about this thief's ultimate goal, we do know the targets. The Yatagarasu likes to find and make public evidence of corrupt dealings of all sorts. The theft is always performed in silence and always with perfection. Once a target is chosen, no dramatic calling card or announcement is sent forth. Instead, the chosen corporation is infiltrated without even the target noticing. Some days later, the evidence that was found is sent out to the mass media. Along with this single card, although it has been a while since the Yatagarasu's last appearance.
Hey, Mr. Edgeworth! Look, something's written on the back!
What? Let me see.
It's the location of where the thief put the stolen files!
So the person who stole the contents of the file was the Yatagarasu? Yatagarasu. Organization. Quite a few key words are popping up in this mystery. The murder in my office. The return of the great thief, Yatagarasu. Looking back, I can't say I didn't see these events coming. For they were heralded by the incidents that began to occur 2 days ago. Oh. Okay. Yatagarasu out here. Okay, Turnabout Airlines. I actually really do like Turnabout Airlines. I remember liking Turnabout Airlines just because of that one character. Yeah. Anyways, man, so I assume that this is just gonna be like a whole like overarching story. I don't think I ever like noticed that when I first played it, like the whole like overarching Yatagarasu theme. But yeah, the Yatagarasu was mentioned in this first case. It's interesting to me. But yeah, that is it for this episode. Roll the end card, and I'll see you next time for Turnabout Airlines.
Objection! You haven't hit like and subscribe yet. Hold it! You forgot to ring the bell to get notified whenever I upload. Take that! Click here to watch more of my videos. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye!